Hi! Welcome. It's me, Getawhale. How's everyone doing? Welcome to Whale Calls, the TF2 Call-In program. This is a call-in show. I want to thank you all for coming. If you're new to the show, let's talk about what it is. I'm a TF2 caster, streamer guy, and I work in radio in real life. I get to hear a lot of talk shows. We do talk shows at the radio station, so I said, why don't I do my own thing? We have a toll-free number here. Sorry if I scared you. Apparently I was really loud when I said hello. So we have a toll-free number, and that allows people to take part in the show interactively. Obviously, you can take part through Twitch chat, but you can take part also by calling in. And so, in just a second here, we're going to be interviewing our guest for this week. His name is Lange. If you are interested in TF2, you probably know who it is. You can ask questions. We'll be interviewing him, but ask questions through Twitch chat if you want. You can also ask questions through by calling in. The number's 855-362-6637. If you don't get through right away, just wait on hold. We'll get to you eventually. While I'm talking, you know, I don't want to cut in on my questions and answers. So you can join the TF2 server. We're gonna post that in the thing. Come play on the TF2 server because you'll be on the sidebar and you'll be on camera. We're giving away items, 2 of them. We have 2 signed items. One of them is a vintage drill sergeant hat, signed by Lange. And the other is a strange rocket launcher, signed by Lange. We're giving those away at the end of the stream to 2 lucky random viewers. So stay tuned and listen to our damn thing. But I think that's it. So let's talk to this young man. Oh, and one thing to mention. The first 2 weeks we did this thing where when you call in, you could hear the answer from me and the guest at the same time. I got rid of that because it's a lot of messing around. It wasn't reliable. So until I get a good audio mixer board, you won't be able to hear it. But when you call in, you can ask your question, and I'll pass it on to Lange, and then you can listen to the stream, I guess, for the answer. So let's do this. Hello, sir. Are you there?
Hello, I am there.
Perfect. So I just did all the, mechanical kind of things. So, Lange, hi. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. You know, Lange, a lot of people know you for a lot of things. Dozens of things even, TF2 related, all these events and playing TF2 and production and somewhat all those kind of things. So the first question that comes to mind is, how hot is it there today?
It's perfectly mild.
Really? It was
really
really hot here today. It got up to 102 with the Humidex, or 39 for... Yes, absolutely. It broke the record, actually, today.
That's crazy.
So I had to lead off with that and just see...
I thought there was still snow there.
Right. Up until today, there was, but 39 degrees was just enough to sort of melt my heart.
Just that top layer.
Yeah. We have people congoing in the server. So hi. So let's talk about things. People know who you are. The first thing that they knew you for is that you played TF2. You played it at the highest level. You played for many seasons. Went to LAN in season 8, I want to say. Is that right?
Yes, I went to the season 8 ESCA LAN. This is correct.
See, I know what I'm doing. And you play the soldier class. How old were you when you started playing these electronic sports?
Well, I actually got my start way back in Cal Open with Counter-Strike 1.6. I was probably 14 or 15 at the time. But I started playing competitive Team Fortress 2 in probably mid to late 2008. And I played on a scrim team for a number of months, like I want to say like at least half a year. I did nothing but scrim before I played in my first match. And I started playing ESCA in Season 3, which was the second season that they had TF2.
Okay. So, what drew you to TF2? Everyone has their own kind of story of how they came. Was it just similar enough to CS, or what was it about TF2?
It was actually because it was so different from CS. When I started playing CS, it was actually really the first online multiplayer game that I had played. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd played games online before. I'd had a long and storied history in games like Diablo, but it's, you know, those aren't really competitive unless you do the PvP, but that's all kinds of horseshit in those games, don't even get me started. So, but like Counter-Strike was the first like truly online multiplayer experience that I had. The first kind of competitive thing I played, and it hooked me so much. I was a huge fan of Half-Life, and I loved the way that game controlled, and Counter-Strike was just an instant hit for me. But after trying to force myself to play it competitively for a while, I realized it just wasn't for me. I didn't like the pace of the game. I didn't like the slow, round-based, methodical nature of it. And when TF2 came out, I was like, this game looks ridiculous and fast, and I love everything about this. And ever since I started playing TF2, there's just been nothing else that has scratched that itch as well as this game.
Mm-hmm. And maybe someday they'll have hats, you might have thought as well.
Yeah.
What, so when you got into TF2 first, were you immediately thinking, when you got in there, I'm going to play this competitively, I'm going to be the best in the world, I'm going to go to Europe, I'm going to do all that, or did it sort of take a while for you to... I mean, certainly it took a while for the competitive community to grow, first of all, but did it take a while before you said, like, geez, I'm going to work at this and do this, or was it always your goal?
It definitely took a while for me to even think about approaching this game competitively. I really had just wanted to pub. I had delusions of grandeur in my time in competitive Counter-Strike 1.6. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be Cal-I in like a year, right? That's how that works.
Of course.
And I was pretty broken up when I realized the reality of what it took to be a professional Counter-Strike player. And I was like, fuck it! I'm done. I'm not even gonna try anymore. Like, I'm just gonna pub this game. It's so fun. Like, who cares? But I was already a regular on Gotfrag, because I was involved in the Counter-Strike community, and I couldn't help but notice all these TF2 threads popping up in the sidebar. And eventually I just had absorbed enough of it through osmosis that at one point I decided to click on a looking thread and say, like, hey, I'd be interested in trying out for your team, even though I'd never even played competitive before.
Yeah, but you gotta try at least.
I did, and it's funny, my tryout was... the entirety of my tryout was me 1v1ing the team's existing pocket soldier
Really?
on Duel 2. Duel_Duel 2 was the name of the map.
Huh.
And we just 1v1'd for about an hour and a half.
For an hour and a half?
Yeah. And
it took that long?
Here's the kicker. And at the end of it, we had an identical KD.
No way.
And he was like, you know what?
Good enough.
We didn't play a single game of sixes. We just did that. And the identical KD was enough to convince him that I was at least on his level. And they picked me up as, I believe I started as roamer. That's kind of where I got my start.
That's all you had to do back in the day, is be as good as another player for an hour and a half.
1v1 on a shitty map, yeah.
Teamwork wasn't a part of it at all. So there was was there a verbal
slightest.
Interview? There was no, like, it was just jump in and...
He, at the time, did not have a mic, so he communicated via in-game chat.
Oh, God.
And I think I talked to him via the in-game voice chat. I don't remember, though.
Oh, boy.
This is definitely, like, pre-mumbles, though.
It was a simpler time then, wasn't it?
It was a simpler time.
In-game voice chat, wow. Well, I guess we can thank Valve for that then. I'm wondering now how many competitive players were hired that way. Somebody's saying it still happens in Div 6 in Europe, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So you played then obviously a number of seasons. I wanted to ask you, do you have an interesting story? Some people have a story of how they like used to skip off school all the time and like skip out to their LAN center and play like and practice. Do you have any stories of how obviously there were a lot of hours involved in honing your craft back in the day? Did it ever get in the way of your real life in any way?
Absolutely. I had to get up at 6 a.m. Every morning to get ready for school, and I was often up until like 1 a.m. scrimming and practicing, if not later. I don't know how we used to find scrims at midnight and 1 a.m., but that used to be a thing you could do. Thank God that's changed. And yeah, so I'd often get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and I was a kid who needed like 12 to function.
12.
Yeah, I
That's
needed
a lot of hours.
I'm like
half the
not
day.
exaggerating. I needed a lot of sleep to
Alright,
be
okay.
okay in the morning.
All
So
right.
I was often not okay in the morning. And that resulted in me just really slogging through the school days. They were a grind, let me tell you. But the promise of being able to come home and play more TF2 is kind of what helped me get through it, I think.
Well, yeah. So you never like missed school or anything, like any big amounts of school to like go and DM or anything like that.
No, I can't say I did that for TF2. I mean, my history of school attendance is spotty at best to begin with, but I can't say I ever like explicitly skipped school just to play TF2.
So, what was practice like back in the 100 years ago? Because obviously practice is a lot different now. Was it so lacking, or like what kind of stuff did you do to get ready back in those days before MGE mod and before those things?
So the pug scene, the pickup game scene, I would actually argue was more vibrant and alive back then than it is now. When I first started playing pugs, Pug NA did not exist. We used a service, and like TF2 Lobby did not exist. This was years before TF2 Lobby.
Yeah.
We used a service called Gather, tf2.gather.na on GameSurge. And the first 6v6 games I played, because I played those before I actually played with this team I got on, were on that service, and then shortly after that, Pug NA started. But yeah, you used to be able to find pugs like pretty often throughout the day without too much trouble. And then besides that, it was just kind of pubbing, and then at some point there started to be rumblings of this weird thing called a DM mod that people started using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a DM mod. Well, let's talk about. Can we get let's get the Cliff Notes version on MGE mod, because that's something that you had a hand in developing. You're a genius, obviously. What prompted MGE mod? How did it come about? Because there were other mods around, right? There are other dueling mods that exist.
There were multiple other dueling mods. There were 3 of them, in fact. MGE mod has a long and storied pedigree from each and every one of those. It all started with the mod called Ammo Mod, which was designed by the Noid and developed by a man named ZXT. But Ammo Mod was closed source and private. Like, you could play on the Ammo Mod servers, but you couldn't make your own, you couldn't get the source code, none of that. People didn't really like that. They wanted to host their own, they wanted to hack on it, they wanted to change things. But the Noid wanted to have a really controlled experience for people who played the mod. So, a strapping young man by the name of Mike JS created an open source clone called Duel Arena. And that had some promise, but Mike JS kind of got busy or lost interest, and the development sort of fell off right as it was picking up some traction. Then a Russian developer by the name of Krolus looked at Duel Arena and was like, oh yeah, I can finish that. And used that as a basis for K-Ammo Mod, which took ideas from both Duel Arena and Ammo Mod, and I think also some code from Duel Arena, I'm not sure. And then he made his own thing called K-Ammo Mod. And then there's this weird little internet business called MyGamingEdge.com that sold
Infamous
access. Business. Infamous is the correct way of describing it. That sold access to basically tips and tricks videos from professional TF2 players. And we wanted to further ingratiate ourselves within the community, and we were like, well, there's all these practice mods out there, but aside from like Soap DM, none of them really have that big of a user base or are under any kind of active development. And our boy Laronix was actually working on yet another duel mod that he had kind of hacked together. It didn't have a name, but all the invite players were playing it in secret on private servers. And they were all having a really, really good time on it. And CB, the proprietor of MGE Mod, who I was working for, I was sort of like the sysadmin of My Gaming Edge, was like, hey, why don't we take this and develop it into like a full thing? And I was like, yeah, I'll do that for free. It'll take 3 months. Yeah, I'll do that for free, because I was a fucking idiot.
Terrible idea.
This is a terrible idea. So I did that for free. It took about 3 months to get the first version out. Actually, no, it took about 3 months to get like the first beta. It took about 6 months to get the first public version, and then I continued developing it even after that. But yeah, MGEmod used KAmmoMod as the code base. It is actually a fork of KAmmoMod.
Cool. And now it's you're famous for it, and you didn't make $1 for it, and it's amazing.
Eventually, I was compensated in some way. The 120 hertz monitor I'm looking at right now was actually given to me by CB. Because at some point he did kind of feel bad that I did all that for free, so he bought me this monitor.
We were actually looking at it just now, just a second ago. We have some little videos playing here of you. Let's so staying on the same topic of all the billions of hours of work that you do. You have a busy year. This 2014 is a little bit busy for you when it comes to TF2 stuff. By the end of the year, you will have attended 3 different LANs. Is that correct? TF2
My
LANs?
Q3 is balling out of control this year, let me tell you. So, yes, I just this past weekend on Saturday, I hosted the Windy City Rendezvous in Chicago. It was a small social get-together of Team Fortress 2 video gamers at Ignite Gaming Lounge in far, far northern Chicago.
And it was wicked times. You streamed the whole thing, and it looked amazing.
We streamed the whole thing, for better or for worse. We streamed the whole thing.
It got a little weird at the end, but we still liked it.
It got a little weird in the middle.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But it was... I had a blast. I would love to do it again. I'd love to do it again this weekend, but I don't think I could get people to come out. And in less than a month, I am going to Coventry, England, to assist in the production of Insomnia 52. Just bought my plane ticket for that earlier this week, along with Tag. We're going to be travel buddies again, just like we were for I-49.
Yeah.
And at the end of October, I am going to the GXL to produce that along with X Television.
And when you go to these, you are the hardest worker there. Because I happen to know that we keep talking to you about what a great time we're going to have at GXL, and we're all going to have beers and beverages and have fun time, and you're like, no, Mike, I can't have beverages. I'm working. It's work. It's serious. But you make these events run, basically. I don't think I'm telling any stories out of school here.
Oh, that's a fantastic phrase. Telling any stories out of school.
Tales out of school,
means,
yeah.
But I like it.
I'm Canadian. We know that.
Yes, when I go to these lands, I like to have a job to do. Call it a puritanical work ethic, but I kind of don't know how to just sit there and relax and have fun. I get really antsy when I try to do that. I need to have a job. I need to have a purpose. So I like to make sure I'm always busy. I'm always doing something at these lands. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm the hardest working person at every land I go to. Certainly for I-52, there are people who are right now doing full-time jobs and making other TF2 projects and also planning the production for I-52. Meanwhile, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just going to show up and you guys need to tell me what to do because I don't have the time or patience to plan out this LAN. But GXM, I'm a bit more of an active participant in the planning of that one.
How did that even come to be? How did it come to be that you went from being a guy who's a roamer on teams to being the guy that does all the streaming and production? Like, did you just show up somewhere one day and they're like, oh yeah, hey, you can jump on here, and like, how did that come to be? Did you always have sort of an interest in, sort of that filmmaking kind of production-y kind of stuff?
So, I got started on the production side of things, ignoring the programming side of stuff. My friends and I, in a little group that some might know, called Businessmen, better known as the VG Circle Jerk. VG, of course, referring to our sponsor, Vicious Gaming.
Yeah.
We would all just kind of get bored and make funny videos. I mean, every now and then we put out a more serious frag vid, but it's like almost every single person in that mumble was capable of making TF2 videos, and it was something that we did for fun. We did it pretty often. sooner or later, you pick up enough things that you're like, well, maybe I can actually make a real project out of this. And for me, my first real video project was the X Television Top 10s. I made the first 4 or 5 of those.
Yeah, Vinny the Boss.
With Vinny the Boss. And yeah, it just sort of snowballed from there. At season 8, I sort of helped plan the absolute train wreck that was the live coverage that MyGamingEdge.com did of the season 8 LAN. This is before Twitch. This was before XSplit. This was well before OBS. Streaming was the law of the West. It was absolute fucking chaos. There was no good programs for it. All the ingest servers were shit. And we put on probably the worst show I've ever been involved in during the Season 8 LAN. Most of it didn't have any audio. Most of it didn't have any video. It was real great. But that was sort of the genesis. It was like, hey, you can stream video games live on the internet?
And people will watch it, too.
What?
Is that the biggest surprise, that people watch it and they are into it?
We weren't the first to do it. An organization by the name of Ponage.tv. Yes, that is correct. Ponage Television.
With a P.
With a P. And one Leonardo Leo 2 Gonzalez used to do video streams of competitive TF2 matches. But this was done... you had to click an ASF file. I believe it was ASF. No, it was...
Real audio. Video.
It was whatever the hell that weird Windows Media streaming format was.
Yeah,
you clicked it,
ASF,
it would open in Windows Media Player, and it was an interlaced, like, 320p stream. And you were like, holy shit, this is incredible!
This is real, yeah.
The game, my game isn't open! Like, it was mind-blowing. So, we weren't the first to do it, but Punish TV kind of died, and My Gaming Edge tried to fill the void, because before then it was all just Mumblecast. You had to be in Mumble and in the Source TV. That was how we did casts.
Right.
And so yeah, My Gaming Edge kind of started doing some casts. Sizer was our initial cameraman, because he was the only person we knew who had a computer good enough to do it. Right. This is like before i7s and shit existed, or like maybe they had just come out. So no one could stream unless they had a supercomputer. But yeah, it really started with the My Gaming Edge casts, I think, is where that sort of took off.
And you just kind of stuck with it. And
I kind of stuck with it.
Going to Europe. And you already were in Europe. I just want to remind the people that are watching, you can call into the stream. The phone number is right there on the thing if you have questions for Lang. It's 855-362-6637. That's 855-DO-BONER. Did you know that there's that nickname to it, Lang?
Sorry? 855-DO-BONER?
Yeah, DOBONER. If you look on your phone, you can use those.
That's great. Do-Boner.
Letters, yeah. It worked out. So, okay, yeah. So it was a very different time, obviously, back then, and obviously we're in a spot now where production-wise, TF2 is crazy. Like, is it surprising sometimes when you think of those old days, and you look now at kind of the stuff that we get to put on, like we have Tip of the Hats, and we're gonna have an amazing production value at i52 and GXL. Is it kind of weird that we got this far? Did you ever think it would happen?
It blows my mind, because the initial casts that we did, every time we wanted to change scene, we had to turn the stream off and turn it back on.
Oh my god.
I'm not like that. That was what we had to work with. And now, we don't
do that now.
We have homegrown live graphics solutions and multiple plugins for broadcast use within the game, and just so many talented casters and cameramen, and so many people donating their time and skills, and we're putting on 2 massive productions yet to come this year with dozens of people involved. Like, it's for a game that has literally no revenue stream for its competitive community. That's really insane.
Yeah, someone's asking, this is sort of on topic, they're asking in chat, and this is kind of an easy one, but what's the best way to get into casting? We've had a bunch of new people kind of come into this game recently, right? Which is great.
Yeah, in my opinion, the best way to get into casting is you have to do 2 things. One, you need to play the game. You have to be a student of the game. You have to understand it. The more you play, the more informed you will be about the game, the easier it will be for you to talk about it. And 2, you just gotta cast. Do it on your own channel. Start on your own channel. And just get used to doing it. Get used to talking at a camera. Get used to forming thoughts quickly. Yeah, just keep playing. Just keep talking. Practice those 2 things.
I agree with that. Keep talking forever. Even if people say that you, even if people don't like it, just keep working to improve. You have to work hard. I think that's one important thing. You can't just get on and... You're probably a lot like me. I mean, you probably look at your own productions and your own casts and even games and stuff like that and work on ways to improve them, I would imagine, right?
I like to think I am my own harshest critic when it comes to that stuff, so yes, absolutely.
It's important because you can't just sit around to do nothing. You have to work to improve. No calls yet. How do you feel about that? Maybe are people too intimidated to speak with you?
I mean, we could just sit here. We could just keep chatting.
Here. Yeah. Somebody asked you about your hair earlier in the chat. What do you do with your hair? Is there pomade involved, or what kind of on there?
The product that I use, Mike, is American Crew Fiber because, and I know the viewers at home want to know this, my hair is ridiculously thick and heavy. Mm-hmm. And American Crew Fiber is like the only stuff I can find that will actually hold it at all. But even so, usually after like a couple hours, my hair just goes flat again because it weighs too much like me. Hey-o!
Hey-o! There it is. That's not true.
No,
Lang, what are you lifting these days? What do you lift these days?
I lifted 2 Asian steak tacos earlier and put them in my face. That's what I'm lifting, Mike.
You lifted them, wowee. Yeah. Right into the mouth, yeah.
Right there.
Somebody pointed out to me yesterday that on stream that my head looks like a little bit like a paintbrush.
That's a weird insult.
Yeah, because the hair, of course, would be the stuff.
Right.
We have a phone call. Let's see what this person wants to.
I'm ready.
Ask. Hello, you're on the air on Whale Calls with Getawhale and Lange.
Hey, it's Kip.
Hey, it's Kip calling. Hey, Kip, how are you doing?
Hi, Kip.
Good. I just thought when you went to hair care that you probably needed a rescuing and call.
Kip figured that when it got to the topic of hair care, we needed to be saved.
Perhaps.
So what did you want to? Did you have a question for Mr. Lang here, Kip? What did you want to know? You were at the Windy City Rendezvous. You met this young man recently, yeah?
Yeah, we got a selfie together. It was the highlight of my evening.
Yeah, nice, a selfie.
Yeah, but I guess it kind of going along with Lange and blaming things and shit like that is I was wondering how long it took him to recover from Saturday and kind of. I-52 and planning all that stuff and just being kind of always involved. How much does that take out of him, out of you? Is he listening? I don't even know how to.
Great question. It does. It's a bizarre technology. Last week we had people they were able to hear the answer, but I'm going to relay the question to Lang. Lang, Kip wants to know how long does it take to recover from these lands? And it obviously takes a lot of work. And it's draining and whatnot, and especially probably the 2 upcoming lands, maybe even more so. How long does it take to get over that? Is it like a hangover? How does it feel?
So, I'm going to answer this, and I'm going to tell a short anecdote. To answer it, it's directly relational to how much travel I've done and how long the LAN is. I-49, I was dead. I was dead before I got on the plane to go home. I was dead before we went to London for 5 days after doing the event, which was the dumbest thing I've ever done, by the way. I was dead. The international travel combined with the long days, I mean, I've told this detail before, but at one point, I had overworked myself so much that I just started having a nosebleed, and I was just, like, bleeding all over the production desk, and I was like, I need to go take a break. I need to go lie down before I, like, die. Windy City Rendezvous didn't take me that long to recover from because, like, my dad lives right there. I was able to just, like, essentially go home after the LAN. And, it doesn't take me long to get down to Chicago, and then getting back up to Wisconsin to my actual home doesn't take too long. But with Windy City Rendezvous, the LAN itself went great. Everything around the LAN was a clusterfuck. So What I have to do is I have to drive 45 minutes south to get to the nearest train station, because I live in fucking Wisconsin. And then I have to take the metro train for about an hour and a half to get into downtown Chicago. Not downtown. It's actually not at all downtown Chicago. To get to Chicago. And then I have to take an Uber ride or get my dad to pick me up to go to my dad's place, which is quite close to Ignite Gaming Lounge. Now, the thing you might not know about the Metra, which is the commuter train line here in Chicago, is that it's the worst fucking business I've ever seen, Mike. Riding it is just an awful experience. For example, you can only pay with cash. I always forget
Only
this.
with cash. People don't carry cash, I thought, these days.
I'm
It's
one of
2014.
those people that does not carry cash, Mike.
I don't think it's illegal, isn't it? You can't have money.
Right.
It's against the law, yeah.
So I get on the train, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to Chicago. Like, this is great. I'm so excited. And then the conductor comes around, or not the conductor, whoever the fuck.
The conductor.
The trainman.
Mr. Conductor.
The trainman comes around. It wasn't the conductor. He wasn't driving. It was just one of the other trainmen. Comes by, he's like, yo, buy our tickets. And I reach for my debit card, and as I'm reaching for it, I'm like, motherfucker, I've forgotten a crucial detail here. And I'm like, you guys want to take cash, don't you? He's like, yep. And I'm like, this train's about to leave, isn't it? He's like, yep.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm fucked, aren't I? He's like, yep. So I get off the train. And I'm sprinting to try to find an ATM. I sprint into the shadiest, like, grocery store Quick Mart type thing I've ever seen, clutching my expensive camera and all my other belongings.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, they have an ATM here. And it just doesn't work. It just does not function. It has no power. It's not even plugged in, and half of it's broken
ATM.
off. I'm like, well, this is not ideal, and surely my credit card number has just been stolen. Regardless, I must continue on. So I keep just sprinting around Harvard, Illinois. No relation to the actual prestigious Harvard, I assure you. And I can't find anything. By the time I do finally find an ATM, the train is long gone. I eventually do find an ATM. I sit around for about 2 hours, wait for the next train, get on it, get to Chicago, whatever. Next morning, my dad and I go out to get breakfast at a nice place called John's Place in Roscoe Village. Highly recommend it. I get the egg sandwich, Mike. I'm like, an egg sandwich. This sounds great.
Classic choice, yeah.
I'm expecting the egg on this sandwich to be like, like over hard, like something you'd expect from the egg in a breakfast sandwich. No, right. Mike. These eggs were over easy. I did not know that going into this. I pick up the sandwich. I bite into it. It goes off like a goddamn hand grenade. It shoots yolk out the front, into my face and glasses, and out the back, all over my shirt, my socks, my shoes, my legs, and my shorts. So I'm sitting here outside on like a busy Chicago street, just fucking covered in
yolk,
egg yolk.
Dripping.
Egg yolk. Egg was literally on my face, Mike.
On the yolk.
And so I just stand up and just go home.
That sounds amazing.
I just tell my dad, pack this up, I'm going to eat it later, and I just go home.
Pack this shit up.
Left.
It's splurted all over everything.
Just
that sounds...
everywhere. And I was like, well, this is not necessarily how I wanted to start this, but this is how we're going to start this. To the person in chat who says, what kind of amateur wears socks with shorts? These are like no-show socks, all right? Like, come on. I'm not a fucking...
I mean, I wear socks with shorts. You got to protect your feet. You only have 2.
Right, this is true. And then, the LAN happens, and that's all great. And then I get on the Metro, I come back to Harvard, Illinois, and I look at my car, and it has 3 parking tickets. Because apparently, the lot that I parked in is not a lot you can park in overnight, despite the fact that their parking app let me pay for 4 days of parking.
All around, this sounds like a fantastic experience, I'll be really honest.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, motherfucker, let me just put these tickets in my car. I'm going to think about this when I get home. I'm driving home. As I'm driving home back to Whitewater, an absolutely crazy, intense rainstorm hits, and I can't see not 10 feet in front of me. And then all of a sudden, I look down at my dashboard, and all of my gauges have failed, and every light on my dashboard is on. And I'm like, really? Now? Is this the best time for this? So I pull over on the side of the road, and I'm like, am I fucked? Like, is my car dead? Luckily, just turning it off and turning it back on causes my dashboard and all my electronics to start working again. But, so now I got that to worry about. So then I get home, I write the 3 separate checks for these 3 separate parking tickets. I put them in the mail. Next morning, I go to work. I come back home. I'm like, yeah, those parking tickets are taken care of. No, Mike. As one last final fuck you from Metro Transportation, I open my mailbox, and the envelopes with the checks back in there because Mike, I forgot to put stamps on them, and Mike, the post office was closed.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, for the city. That seems not even real to me. What a terrible life that must have been that day.
Yeah, I was pretty mad. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, thank you to Kip for that call, for dredging up those terrible, awful memories. Well, you know, I'm sure that now that we've, you know, now that you've gone through all of that, that whole experience, it'll be a lot better maybe next time, hopefully. Young Thorn, another, you know, another one of the members of the group that we're both in, Lange, which is the Gorgeous Gamers.
Right.
Said that he had a bunch of shit that he went through as well. He had a whole bunch of transfers and shit. And
he got assaulted by a homeless person, like straight up assaulted.
Really?
Yes.
Assaulted.
And he only had a 4-mile trip. That's
so now imagine for people such as Dashner that had to come from Canada. That sounds almost too bad to be
Dashner
true.
briefly lost his license and was wondering whether or not he could re-enter his country. Luckily,
really?
he found it. But
you need
yeah.
a driver's license to get back into Canada now?
Well, I mean, I think if you want to drive your car across the border, yeah. I think they check
passport.
for that.
You need a passport, right? It's not
right,
a license.
but I think if you want to bring your car across, they probably check your license
you need a
too.
license. That makes sense, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks to Kip for that call. Remember, guys, we're gonna be on for a little bit longer. Call in and ask Lange some questions. So I guess you're probably hoping to avoid some of that bullcrap because when you go to Europe, you've already been to the Insomnia Festival, right?
Yeah, I went to I-49, which was in a different location. Insomnia 49 was at the Telford International Center in Telford, which is a pretty small, like, quiet town. Like, there's not a whole lot going on. It's pretty calm. It's also a little bit out of the way. The nearest airport is Birmingham International, which is like an hour-and-a-half train ride. And now this new LAN is in Coventry at the Ricoh Arena, which is nice because it's only like a 20-minute cab ride from Birmingham International Airport, but apparently it's a little bit of a shadier town. I don't know. We'll see.
Somebody is asking about the future, TF2's future as an esport. We're seeing bigger events. Obviously, you know, we've had this TF2 Euro LAN that happens over in Europe, and that's pretty big. Insomnia is pretty big. They do 3 of them a year, and the third one is the real big one with prize money. And GXL is going to be the biggest North American LAN of TF2's history. Do you think that these are good things? Where do you think we're headed, Lange?
I don't know if you could hear that. Yeah, okay, you could hear that.
Is that your landlord busting in?
Yeah, jeez, maybe. Buy your rent, motherfucker!
Open the door!
Yeah. What was I talking about? Video games. So yeah, TF2 right now, I think it's in a weird place because like both them, like every league is struggling for registration numbers, but I simultaneously feel like the game is bigger than it's ever been. Like we're putting on these crazy huge events. Like Tip of the Hats, I-49, GXL, Windy City Rendezvous was like a huge success given how little planning there was, and the fact that it was only a one-day event. Like,
yeah.
People really like this game. I feel like we just maybe don't know how to utilize that best yet. But yeah, I mean, I think this year is by far and away the biggest year that competitive TF2 has ever had. Just so many amazing things are happening. And if we keep on this track, like, you know, we're going to stick around. We're going to keep getting bigger.
Somebody asked the question, which, you know, I think we all know the answer to, and I think I get sick of hearing it. Do you think Valve will ever support 6s? And I think the official answer to that is no currently, isn't it?
Yeah, that is correct. I I have
Valve.
zero hope that Valve will support this game competitively in any meaningful way. I gave up that hope a long time ago. To be honest, like, this might be silly, but what I'm holding out for is the next, like, team-based, class-based FPS that Valve releases.
Team Fortress 3, as some people like to call it.
Whether or not they ever release another one, we'll see. But I would certainly hope that TF2's been successful enough that they think about it. You know, once TF2 has finally stopped making gobs of money for them, which, I don't know, maybe that day
It'll
will
never
come.
stop. I don't think they ever have to do anything with TF2.
That's kind of my fear.
You know?
That TF2's
like
become enough of a cash printing machine on its own that they have no reason to try to improve it.
Like, if I have a savings account with money in it, I can just leave it forever, and it'll make money forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't have to change it or do anything with it. Oh boy, I mean, I guess we'll see. A lot of good questions in chat. Remember, guys, though, call in if you want to be really cool, like me or like Lange. You call into the show. Somebody asked, how do you find all the time, I guess, between work and real life and stuff like that? You have multiple jobs. Do you still have multiple jobs?
Less so now. Pretty much the only job I really focus on anymore is my job at the university as a web developer. But to answer, how do you find the time? I'm no longer able to find the time. And I am in the process of thinking about how I want to dramatically restructure almost every aspect of my life, because I can't fucking keep doing this, Mike.
Mm-hmm. Well, it gets easy to burn out, I guess. I mean, we've seen some prolific members of the community kind of step back and take breaks, obviously, when it gets to be too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can burn out. Same as anything. That's kind of like life, isn't it? Burn out.
Yes. Yeah, certainly. I mean, to give you an idea of how busy I am, I viewed One Step Camp, which was, you know, full-time hardcore photography, like every single day, like, hey, hike miles and miles and be creative and take good photos and tons of videos, like, every single day. I viewed that as a vacation. That was a relaxing change of pace for me.
That's interesting. Well, that's one good thing to talk about too. I mean, well, obviously there's the Tip of the Hats charity thing, which we had the second year of this year, and you got to go work at One Step Camp. How does that feel? I always ask people about, like, what are some cool things that you get to do, and what are some stuff that TF2 has enabled you to do. That's a pretty cool one, isn't it? Getting to raise, you know, pretty much $140,000 for a charity over 2 years, and then you get to go and work with the charity that puts these, creates a camp for these kids with cancer, which is such an amazing thing. Is that, would you say, like, is that a highlight for you?
Yeah, so far my time at One Step has been the highlight of my year, and that is saying something. I've had a pretty great year, all in all. Tip of the Hats and, you know, Windy City Rendezvous and stuff like that. But you know, One Step Camp was amazing. Everyone there is just so friendly. And here's the main reason why I viewed it as, like, a relaxing vacation, is because you know, for better or for worse, if you liked video games a lot, you're going to spend a lot of your time on the internet, because that's just where video games are.
Right.
Unless you're lucky enough to be like a professional Dota player who's going to LAN tournaments every other week, you know, you're probably spending most of your time on the internet to play these games and to interact with these games that you love. Internet's a shitty place, Mike. I don't know if you know this.
I do know it quite a bit, actually. I'm quite familiar. I do a call-in show.
Right, you know this better than most. Pretty much everyone on the asshole is an internet, and no matter how good you try to be, there are going to be people who are awful.
Everyone on the internet is an asshole. You said everyone on the asshole is an internet. Came out funny.
I am a straight white male, so the abuse I get is pretty tame. God forbid I was anything but that. I would get it so much worse.
Yeah.
And I go to One Step Camp, and it's just people who are happy to be alive.
Yeah.
And I mean that. Almost every single person there either currently has cancer or is a cancer survivor. And every single meal, ends with all 350 people breaking out into song.
That's wicked.
It was just such a it was just such a 90-degree turn from what my normal day-to-day reality is, and I'm infinitely thankful for it.
That's really amazing. To me, as I'm a guy who went through cancer, as you know, and some people know, and it's such an amazing charity. There's good charities out there that are good, like, you know, Child's Play lets kids play video games, and there's other little things, but letting kids go and have a normal life and go to camp like that is amazing. It's the most amazing thing. So I think was it Sean or Seabear who picked out that charity? Whoever it was nailed it.
It was Seabear. Seabear knew about One Step because he used to live in Chicago, and One Step is a Chicago-based organization. And I believe Seabear just heard about on the news, and he went to some of their charity poker tournaments and whatnot.
Yeah, it's I think it pretty much nails it. And I think if we can, there it is. There's the reaction. We have your code working video just
yes.
Played. Yeah. We're gonna go and beat it this year for Tip of the Hats. I think. What do you think? Do you think it's possible?
Absolutely. We have plans to make Tip of the Hats even bigger. And yeah, I think Tip of the Hats is gonna go big places.
That's sick. People don't call in. I think people just like to listen during this interview segment.
I
think that's what I'm learning. Yeah.
Passive entertainment. They don't got to get up. They don't got to do anything.
They don't have to do anything. No. Well, geez, we've been here almost an hour now. We've got 10 minutes left, technically, in the show. If anyone wants to call in, this would be a really good time. Remember, we're still giving away these 2 items that you signed. The little drill sergeant's hat that you were known for quite a while. You don't wear that one anymore, do you?
No. Ever since the Tip of the Hats hat, the tipped lid, was added to the game, I have switched over to that. But the Sergeant's Drill hat was the very first Team Fortress 2 hat that I crafted. It was the first hat I ever got. Then I equipped it on my soldier, and I never took it off. It eventually became vintage. I just never took it off. So it became kind of iconic. I might go back to it eventually, but for now I'm still digging the Tip of the Hats hat, because, I mean, come on, that's crazy that we have our hat in the game.
It is crazy. I'm gonna send over when we're off the air here. I'm gonna send over my tipped lid for you to sign, and we're gonna give that away as a 3rd prize. What do you think?
Awesome. I think that's great.
And mine was bought, of course, through the Manco store, and that's how everyone should be buying their tipped lids, of course, because as much money as possible from that purchase goes right straight to One Step Camp forever, and that's crazy too, isn't it?
That is pretty awesome. And
insane.
By the way, the figure, unfortunately, I'm not really happy about this part, but the cut that we get is about 25%. Valve
really?
Takes 75%. Yeah,
I thought it was more like 40, but well.
I think that's kind of shitty. But hey, it's better than nothing, and it still helps kids with cancer. Yeah. It helps Valve more, but it helps kids with cancer.
Well, we do what we can. Yeah, geez, we have people listening from England. Well, 10 minutes left in the show. People are saying they are enjoying your stories. Cold is saying he's digging the stories. Cold, another guy that you probably met at the thing. Somebody, Cold suggesting, tell us about the time when you got your driver's license. Is there a story to that?
So, I was actually really scared of driving for a really long time, and I didn't get my license until I was 19. The weird part of that is I got my first car when I was 17. So, okay. I just kind of didn't use it for a while. I mean, I had my permit. I got my learner's permit when I was like 17, but yeah, it took me a while to get my license. Nothing too much interesting happened with that, aside from the fact that I got it late, but yeah.
Oh. Who is going to do really good at I-52? That's one thing. Let's get real now. Drop your Preds. What's going to happen at I-52?
Man, it's so
hard.
Have you
even been paying attention much to the Euro teams and stuff?
Not a terrible amount. I know there's been shakeups in European TF2, which is in contrast to I-49, where pretty much everything was a constant. We knew what the European teams looked like. We knew what they were going to do, how they were going to be at I-49. The only thing we didn't know is where they stacked up against the American teams. but we knew what was going to be there. We knew that a strong Epsilon was going to be there. This time, we don't really know what's going to show up from Europe. We don't really know what's going to show up from America because, Froyo Tech has had a big roster change, getting the new demo man, Duatna, and it's possible that Mix-Up might have some roster changes. I don't know.
A lot of question marks, yeah. We have a phone call. We can talk a bit more about the thing. Let's see what this person wants. Hello, you are on Whale Calls with Lange and Getawhale.
Mom?
Did you have a question for Lange?
Oh shit, wrong number.
Somebody had a wrong number. That's too bad.
Seriously?
That person called in and they said, Mom. I think that was just a little joke.
It might have been.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
My name is Alex Van Camp, and I'm one
this
of the
video's
producers
playing
for Tip
audio
the
all of a
Hats,
sudden.
an
Jeez.
annual.
Sometimes your videos are playing audio in the background. Somebody said talk about Highlander. That's a pretty general question, isn't it? That doesn't... Is Highlander good? Everyone hates Highlander now, right? It used to be super legitimate, and people have sort of grown tired of it, and they look down on it a little bit now. What?
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, I respect Highlander from a distance. I personally don't enjoy playing it just because I'm so used to the ebb and flow of sixes. When I think TF2, I think sixes. I had my try at Highlander, and it was too different. I couldn't get used to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, certainly, I know a lot of top sixes players who also play Highlander at a pretty high level and enjoy it quite a bit. It's just another way to enjoy the game. The only legitimate flaw that I think Highlander has is the fact that it's pretty much impossible to have a LAN for Highlander. Aside from that, it's whatever, it's cool.
There was a little pickup Highlander thing at I-49, wasn't there? A little side tournament?
There very well could have been, but I don't know. I was trapped in a production dungeon the whole time.
Locked in there.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. Let's see if there's... looks like someone else is calling. Maybe this person will say Mom as well. Hello, you're on Whale Calls with Lange and Getawhale.
Hi.
Hi, who's this?
This is Dave from the LAN.
It's Dave. Dave underscore from the LAN?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Dave underscore. How's it going, man?
Me to call in.
Oh, Kip forced you to
on?
call in? Okay. What did you want to talk about? What did you want to ask Lange?
I need to ask Lang how I can become a beautiful gamer like Kip.
Alright. Thank you for the call.
I need his opinion on gorgeous gaming and how to be a gorgeous gamer.
Alright, thank you, Dave underscore. So Dave underscore's question was, he's looking for advice on how he can become a gorgeous gamer. Gorgeous like Kip. Gorgeous like Lange. Yeah, that was Dave underscore who you met, obviously. He was there at the thing. That's what he wants to know. How to be gorgeous. There were some good looking people at that LAN.
There were. So I did indeed meet Dave underscore at the LAN, and I gotta say, number one advice I can give is, grow that beard out, man. Just start working on it. See where it takes you.
Do you have any suggestion on, are there beard products that you can use? Like, do you have a gel or a pomade, a beard, I don't know, lacquer finish that you can get? Do you use a beard product is what I'm asking.
I personally do not. I just trim it every now and then, try to keep it neat. But no, I'm not using any kind of beard oil or anything.
No beard oil. It's not like a baseball glove. You don't moisten it. Okay, yeah. People are dropping the hot Lang tag in the chat now. I can't grow a beard, Lang, so I sort of look up to you in that way.
I can't either. That hasn't stopped me, Mike.
Yeah, you can. You have it. You don't think you can? You're revealing that you have no beard confidence?
Yes. I have beard envy.
Wow. Who do you think... are there any individuals out there that have the ultimate beard that you've met or seen that you would aspire to become like?
None come to mind. I don't have a beard idol.
Idol? Yeah.
But, I probably should. Maybe that's why I lack direction in my life. I don't have a beard idol.
The person who called in said Mom is calling back. Let's see what they want, and then we'll do the giveaways, I think. Hello, you're on the air again with Getawhale and Lange. What's up?
Mom?
No, it's not your mom. It's I just said who it is. As a matter of fact, you don't want to ask questions. You just want to say mom and hang up.
Nah, I'm joking. This is Thorn _ in my comments in the chat. I am probably the most swag person on earth.
Oh boy, it's Lange. It's Thorn calling in.
Is it now?
Yeah, it's not really Thorn.
I just
Okay.
wanted to say I love you guys.
Well, this gentleman Thorn wants to say that he loves us, so that's great. Thorn
Well,
has
that's
a
very nice.
higher voice than I remembered.
Weird.
Yeah, it's way higher. It just seems maybe when you're on the camera and doing that kind of stuff, it's just different. I don't know how.
You know, they say the camera takes away 2 octaves.
2 octaves, right? They do say that. They do say that. Well, let's see. What are we gonna do? I think since it's an hour, and that's what I had told you, I think we're gonna have to cut. We gotta cut the interview. Lang, do you have shout outs as people like to ask at the end of interviews?
I just want
Any
to give
stuff you wanna
shout-outs to everyone who showed up to Windy City Rendezvous. I had the time of my life. It was so fun. I'm extremely grateful for each and every person that came out to hang out with little old me down in Chicago. Shout-outs to the Bud Squad, holding it down. We're getting close to that time where we gotta start thinking about the next tip of the hats, and that frightens me. It's so soon.
There's already been meetings, right?
There have already been meetings. And shout out to Getawhale for putting this together. More content, more regular content in the TF2 community is exactly what we need. And I like that this show attempts to sort of humanize the figures that we have and get interesting stories out of them. And I think that's great. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. We did have good stories. We'll. I feel like you have billions more. We'll have to have you on some other time. I feel like
I'd love to come back.
Stories, yeah. Yeah, it's good. We didn't quite know how this show was going to go when we started it, but it's getting there. It's okay. Maybe we'll have to eventually find someone to bring back fully charged. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So So I think the next thing we're going to do is we usually go on pub, but we've already been here for an hour. Do you have time to come pub with us, or you got your landlord coming over?
Yeah. So I guess I should explain that quickly. Before this started, like 2 hours before this started, my landlord just texted me in all caps, "Are you going to be home at 6:30? Question mark, question mark, question mark." And I'm like, maybe, what's up? And then he just hasn't responded to any of my texts or calls and has not showed up. So I don't know what's going on there.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't know it was all in caps. That seems like
all in caps. I'm not quite sure what is happening. But you know what? Yeah, I think we have like 2 or 3 matches tonight or something crazy like that.
Too many matches. Okay.
Too many.
Well, that's okay. We thank you for coming on the show at least, and I think we are going to still go pub, but we're going to let Mr. Lang go. Thank you again for coming. We're going to give away those few items, and I'll send you a message here now in a few minutes. We'll get that tipped lid signed. So thank you, sir, and we'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So guys, we're still here. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna do the giveaways now. Let's do that. So we're gonna do them in this order. We'll do Strange Rocket Launcher signed by Lang, Vintage Sergeant's Drill Hat signed by Lang, and the tipped lid. But we're doing it after this break. I'm gonna put the stream down for a minute so that I can chop it. And then, actually, that doesn't even need to be too long because we do it totally differently. And we're going to stay on the air here and take some calls, so you guys can call in and just talk. We're going to pub on the pub server a little bit, so you can come and play. So let's post the pub server. So.